Good evening and welcome into Stick to Sports. I'm Luke Owens.
And I'm Matt Watling. Tonight we're talking about the biggest matchup in basketball and previewing something new to the show, Oswego State, and the pair of semifinal games that will be played tomorrow.
Roll it. The best thing we saw this week comes from Penn State, where a Taco Bell closed on campus. In response, the students orchestrated a candlelit vigil to honor the fallen fast food joint. And Matt, as an avid Taco Bell lover, this really hurts my heart.
We are very sad about the Taco Bell closing.
Yes.
It's a true tragedy, and honestly, I wish I could have been a part of this vigil because it's brilliant. Forever in our hearts. That's right. I mean, tears might have been shed if I was there.
Yeah, and as you'll see through this video, there's a nice man wearing a burrito costume, and he said that, quote, "I'm going to miss that," you see the man right there, "I'm going to miss that crunchy taco and chicken chalupa, but what I'm going to miss even more is those late night conversations I had with each and every one of you." And Taco Bell, a staple in our modern society, and it's fantastic that we got one in Oswego.
And look, I agree with everything he said up until he talks about crunchy tacos.
Right.
You can't be getting tacos at Taco Bell. That's not the menu order.
No, you got to go beefy 5-layer, Crunchwrap Supreme,
Yep.
chalupas,
Chalupas,
Frito burritos.
yep.
I'm a big fan of now too.
Really good. The dollar quesadilla, really good. A little spicy for my taste, but it's
Yeah.
still very, very good.
So I'm really feeling for Penn State students this week.
It's a tough scene. But for last night, LeBron James and his Lakers took on Zion Williamson and the Pelicans. And in the game, both stars put up over 30 points. But LeBron added a triple-double with 12 rebounds and 13 assists. Luke, what did you end up seeing in this matchup?
This is just so good for the NBA to me because you have must-watch regular season games in March. What I like to call appointment television, when you see LeBron James going head-to-head against Zion Williamson. They don't guard each other all the time, but these guys were really battling back and forth, and I just love what this does for the trajectory of the league.
Yeah, I mean, when was the last time you sat there and said, I want to watch a basketball game? I need to watch a basketball game that wasn't a team in your market.
Right.
You really don't see it that much, and I think that's a testament to LeBron and to Zion. And with the league, they've had so much struggle dropping ratings, especially with LeBron moving to the West. The fact that you now have this West Coast matchup, you hope that you can pry eyes to the Eastern Coast because that's when you see a lot of those ratings improve.
Yeah, and Zion Williamson is really a freak. He's only played 15 games, but he's just so fun to watch. And to me, it's really interesting that LeBron kind of almost heightens the level of his play when he knows there's a guy, coming for the throne. Not that I love that narrative, but
15 games in, coming for the throne.
But it really seemed like LeBron turned it up to another level last night.
He did, and even kind of commented on Zion saying, I love kind of watching you play. I love kind of mentoring you, and was very adamant about that kind of aspect of the game.
Right, and sticking on the hardwood, in a statement released by the New York Knicks today, the team has officially hired former agent Leon Rose as their new president. Rose will oversee all basketball operations and personnel for the team. Matt, do you like this hire?
I love this hire. I think it's great. I love the fact that he asked for patience, as he said in a press release to the fans, and that's what they need. This is a team that has 7 first-round picks in the next 4 years, and you need to use those and take it slow. Again, you look at his resume here, worked under Rich Paul, one of the biggest agents in all of basketball. LeBron's agent for a little bit, and then again, bringing that big 3 to Miami, that just shows the clout that he has, that he can, and also the smarts that he has to be able to bring those 3 guys in and all keep them happy and keep them under that luxury tax.
Yeah, I really like this hire. Obviously, he's a big basketball guy. He's got a great basketball mind. He's a former agent, which is there's been success in that recently in the NBA. One of the things being brought up is, he was Melo's agent. Carmelo's coming back to New York, which is all good and fine, but I want to see the Knicks make maybe a bigger splash than Carmelo Anthony. But as you mentioned, it really does start in the draft.
And of course, that was a report from the New York Post saying that, Carmelo Anthony kind of might want to come back, and also Rose was actually hired by Carmelo to try to engineer his departure from Denver, is what they said in the article as well, which is really interesting to me because it just shows how much power he has that he can make a move like that and help his team do that.
Yeah, I think Knicks fans, though, definitely need to kind of, like you said, be patient, take it slow. But it's tough to do in a market like New York.
Yeah, and sticking in New York, just a few games into spring training, and the New York Yankees have found themselves ravaged with injuries once again. After already losing James Paxton, Luis Severino will also be out the entire season due to Tommy John surgery, while Giancarlo Stanton has a strained calf, which may force him to miss opening day, alongside Aaron Judge, who was also shut down due to pectoral discomfort. And Luke, what is going on with these Yankees?
Yeah, they really just can't avoid this injury bug. It ravaged their team last year, set the record for most players on the IL in a single season. And to me, the guy I circle on this list as most concerning, Luis Severino. He's going to miss all of this season, maybe even half of next season. He's just so good in that Yankees rotation. He was supposed to be the #2 power arm behind Garrett Cole, and he's out, and that's a really tough arm to replace.
And he's a guy before last season you signed to a 4-year extension, and he's played, what, 20 innings?
Yeah.
I mean, that's
games,
$40 million, and really 20 over the first 2 years that you're not going to get any value from.
Yeah, and obviously with Judge and Stanton, always concerning, but I think the Yankees will take their time, try to get them back in April. Stanton maybe a little bit more concerning than Judge just because he's had a lot of lower leg issues, but for Aaron Judge's sake and Giancarlo Stanton, take your time. We know the depth that the Yankees have, but it's unfortunate to see in spring training.
But again, you look at this outfield, and all 3 of their starters could be out to start the season. No Hicks, no Stanton, no Judge. That's a really big blow. But again, as you said, Luke, you want to take it slow. You can lose games in April. You can lose them in May. You cannot lose them in September and October. This is a team that's World Series or bust, and you can lose a couple meaningless games early on.
Yeah, and one of my biggest questions is, can the guys that were great last year be great again? Guys like Gio Urshela, Tauchman, and Gardner in the outfield. You know, Gardner's not getting any younger. They signed him to an extension which was deserved because he had a great year last year. But you wonder if that production can be ramped up even more this year, or if those are kind of one-hit wonders.
Yeah, and now you're struggling to find extra pitchers. Davey Garcia, who's, 19, 20 years old, might even be getting that starting job out of the gate, which is scary to see.
And definitely something to keep an eye on. But moving over to the gridiron, after saying this offseason he would prefer not to be franchise tagged by the Bengals, the team did just that yesterday, keeping A.J. Green on the roster for 2020. The move comes after Peter King said that in a meeting with Cincy, potential #1 pick Joe Burrow said he wanted Green to stay on the team. Matt, do you like this move for the Bengals?
Look, I feel awful for A.J. Green, obviously wanting to get some long-term security. 31 years of age. He doesn't have too many contracts left, and he's trying to get some value. But again, you're getting a lot of money for 1 year. And this is a great look for Cincinnati because you're helping keep this offense competent. You need a guy you need Joe Burrow to, 1, be a piece so he signs with the team because there's been rumblings that he might pull an Eli Manning. Not that he said it, but there's that possibility for him. And 2, you need a bigger target where you can just throw to him and he can make that catch. And that's someone that few teams really have, and A.J. Green's one of the best when he's healthy.
And Joe Burrow is fantastic in college, and we saw he had so many weapons at LSU to throw to, and that made him that much more dynamic. And the Bengals, they went 2-14 last year, but I really like the weapons they have. You have A.J. Green, you have Tyler Boyd, John Ross, Tyler Eifert, Joe Mixon to throw to out of the backfield. So you surround a #1 pick with all these weapons in his rookie year and kind of see what he can do. I mean, we saw the Cardinals last year get Kyler Murray with the #1 pick, and he did a great job, but at the same time, he didn't really have enough weapons. So these are just more weapons for Burrow, and you hope they can kind of come to a better agreement with A.J. Green.
Right, we're going to take a quick break here on Stick to Sports.
When we come back, I'll be joined by Andy for his stories of the week in a brand new segment we call the Fast Break. Don't go anywhere. You're watching Stick to Sports. Welcome back to Stick to Sports. We now welcome on our assistant producer, Andy Guidi, to take us through his stories this week. Andy, take it away.
Thursday, during an interview with Rachel Nichols, James Harden went on record stating that Giannis Antetokounmpo's style of play lacks the skill evident in his own game. Harden's comments sparked a response from the Bucks forward Friday. Is this the beginning of a beef between the two superstars?
I think it is, and I love this about the NBA. I love that the guys are willing to talk and kind of make things really spicy during the regular season. And we've seen Giannis, he doesn't seem too happy. He really gave it to the Hornets on Friday night, and I really like this. I think it's good for the NBA to have these guys talking and kind of letting their personalities out.
I like that you used the word spicy. In a league where we're often described as soft, it's good to see like some sort of rivalry, even though it might be a little bit petty. You have two rivals just like commenting on each other's game, going at it. And Giannis has always been a competitor, so it's very refreshing to see.
Yeah, and I think it's also interesting because the words he used to describe Giannis, I don't really agree with, because Giannis is a guy that has a ton of skill. I mean, there's not a lot, but there are 7-footers in the world that can't hoop, and Giannis can, and I think that's the biggest thing. He's worked so much on his jump shot, his ball handling. He's really become a good passer, and I really think that he's become a problem for the NBA. So I don't really like the words that James Harden uses. I understand what he's trying to say, but I think I'm on Giannis' side for this one.
Yeah, at the end of the day, you have to get past 5 people to get to the rim. It's not that easy as it seems. So
yeah, and Giannis obviously a great performance against the Hornets.
Definitely. On Sunday, the Los Angeles Lakers went up against the New Orleans Pelicans in their final meeting of the season. As discussed before, the Lakers were victorious in this exciting matchup. Is there any chance these two squads meet in the playoffs?
It's funny, Andy, because I literally wrote on my notes, can the Pelicans please get the 8 seed? Because
Yeah.
that's a matchup I really want to watch. And not to say John Morant and the Grizzlies aren't fun to watch, but to me, this Pelicans team is really fun with Zion, with guys like Brandon Ingram really coming to his own. Lonzo Ball's really impressed me lately, so I really hope this is a matchup we see in the playoffs.
Yeah, this is not a slight to the Grizzlies. They have a great season, but I'm dying to see like a couple of LeBron, Zion duels in the playoffs. It's like the apprentice going up against his master. Let's see if he could take some of his moves. If he could have a dunk on LeBron, there's going to be so many highlights in a potential first-round series. We have to see it. Like the NBA needs it.
Yeah, and for the Grizzlies, they faced, I believe it's the second toughest schedule, or the toughest schedule down the stretch here. Pelicans was one of the easier schedules, so those could, and obviously the Grizzlies battling some injuries. And another layer to that Pelicans-Lakers game, of course, the Anthony Davis trade.
Definitely, yeah.
You have Ingram going to New Orleans, where he's really found a good home. Josh Hart as well. Maybe, he got dominated by LeBron yesterday,
yeah,
but he's another
unfortunately.
guy that would be in there as well. So this was definitely a matchup that I would like to see in
This
the playoffs.
could be like another rivalry to help like reunite the NBA. So we can see what happens. Monday, during an interview with the Toronto Star, Blue Jays pitcher Ken Giles was asked if he would give up his World Series ring with the Houston Astros. He said he would be more than willing to do that. Luke, if you were in Giles' shoes, would you be willing to return your ring?
It's really tough because I'm not gonna lie. If I was a championship-winning athlete, I might want to keep the ring. Might want to flex it around a little bit. But I understand where he's coming from. And Giles is a guy. He's a pitcher, so he wasn't really benefiting the same way from the sign stealing. So if it's me, I think I tell myself I'd return the ring because I'm a good person. But I might want that ring on my finger.
Yeah, if you had a heart, the right thing to do is return the ring. But at the end of the day, that's a lot of diamonds, a lot of money, it's a lot of hardware.
And he
It could be
earned
kind of
it.
hard. Yeah, he
Kind of.
technically did earn it. I mean, even though unfortunately they cheated, he was still giving his blood and sweat and tears for the Houston Astros. So I mean, I would personally return it, but I could see if he would be a little bit hesitant to do it. So.
Also could be a little bit PR move.
Yeah,
You see, oh yeah, Ken Giles, good guy. He said he'd return the ring and everything. He's no longer on the Astros, so it's kind of like, I don't know about that. But I don't know. I think at the end of the day, I might keep the ring. I'm not gonna lie. I'm kind of just like that. And this week, of course, we will be debuting Andy's Fast Break, which is a quick look around the world of basketball. So Andy, take us away on your Fast Break.
After waiving guard Troy Daniels Sunday, the Lakers now occupy an open roster spot. Despite the lack of urgency to sign another player, the Lakers worked out free agent Dion Waiters and J.R. Smith Monday. Despite spending over 2 decades in the Staples Center, the Clippers are looking for a new arena. On Monday, reports say owner Steve Ballmer is close to purchasing the Forum from Knicks owner James Dolan. Now that the coronavirus outbreak has entered the United States, the NBA sent memos to players today with strategies on how to dodge the deadly virus. And with the March Madness around the corner, the NCAA announced today its finalists for the annual Bill Cosby Award. Finalists include Duke guard Trey Jones, Kansas guard Devin Dotson, and Marquette guard Marcus Howard. And after being out with a hand injury since November, Stephen Curry's return appears imminent. Today, the guard practiced with the Warriors G League affiliate with hopes to return to the court later this week. We're going to take a quick break from Sticks to Sports. When we come back, Mac and Luke will come back to preview the SUNYAC and NEWHL semifinals that will be held here in Oswego tomorrow.
Welcome back to Stick to Sports. And while we typically don't speak about Oswego State athletics, tomorrow's two of the biggest games of the season, as both hockey teams will host their conference semifinals. Starting with the women's hockey team, it's taking on a Morrisville State club that's in its first season in the NEWHL. And Luke, what stands out most in this Mustangs team?
Yeah, when I look at Morrisville State, it's not a team that really jumps out to you on paper, but a couple of their top scorers do. They have Mackenzie Lombardi paired with Madison Devlin. They're both incredible, 32 points each. They also commit the fewest penalties in the NEWHL. They have the worst penalty kill, but also it's a smaller sample size. They do a really good job discipline-wise, and I've been really impressed. In year one of the NEWHL, we saw a team like Canton kind of struggle, end up in last place in the conference, but for Morrisville State, they've done a really good job battling, and obviously this is going to be a really interesting matchup to watch.
Yeah, and really heading into this weekend, they've got a really poor save percentage, 890, which is worse. They're 7th in the conference, which I believe is last.
Right.
But again, you're looking at it and you say they played the Plattsburgh team just a couple weekends ago, or the last weekend of the season, and that's going to destroy any stats you have. They're such a good team. They're so talented. It's hard to kind of work within that. But again, every team had to play Plattsburgh. And you look at Oswego State, they've got a great save percentage. I believe Rachel Farmer's above a 910. And you sit there and you say, why can't they have that as well? You know, their goaltending situation not as sound as Oswego's.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see who will be in net. But For this game specifically, Lombardi and Devlin are really fun to watch. We've got the pleasure to see them at MCC earlier in this year, and they really can control a game, kind of like the Megan Teachout aspect for Oswego State, where they can really do anything with the puck, and I think that's really what helps them out. And again, a penalty collet struggles, but if they can stay out of the box, I think that could really help them in tomorrow's game.
You talk about those two teams, or those two players, and against Mustangs rather, Oswego State was 2-1 this season, and Oswego State looked great in that third game that we got to call, Luke, but kind of struggled in the one game that it lost. What do you think went wrong for Oswego State in that loss?
Yeah, there's a couple of different layers, and in the loss, Morrisville State had 4 power play chances. They scored 1 power play goal. Oswego State, only one power play chance. So if Morrisville State can kind of stay disciplined, stay out of the box, that's going to be a huge key, because Oswego State, that's their best offensive line, is when they're on the power play. They get to have Taggart and Rendazzo at the top. They get Teachout, Stewart, Amber Thomas. That's just such a great offensive line, especially playing 5-on-4. So I think that if the Morrisville State Mustangs, if they can stay out of the box, they're going to have a chance. But if Oswego State keeps rolling out that power play, they're going to have some issues.
Right. We spoke to Associate Head Coach Mark Digby last week, and he said of all the games, this was probably the one game of the entire season where we really veered away from our game. We weren't hardworking. We were just uncharacteristic things from their group. And us the next day and the next games, they bounce back. And that, to me, speaks volumes about this team, because they're a team that grinds. They cycle. They play a full 60 minutes. They roll 4 lines deep. All the cliches, they really do well. And your favorite stat that I might have to steal from you is the face-off stat.
Just have it.
And in the loss, they ended up losing the face-off battle at 28-18. While the other two, they won at 63-38. So just how important these face-offs are. And, of course, Luke, you've been on the face-off bandwagon the last 6 or 7 games.
I am, and also, if it's Lacey Friesen that starts in net, she started the last 2 games for against Oswego State. The first game, she stopped all 26 shots, and that was really a huge key. She was awesome. And then she looked a little bit more shaky in that second game. She allowed 4 goals on 28 shots. So if it's Friesen in net, which I think it should be, because she's played Oswego State twice already this year, she's going to have to be a little bit better than she was last game.
Yeah, and a couple of those goals that we did see really weren't that great to some extent. You know,
Right.
They were some kind of softer goals, and with that, kind of looking now with a Plattsburgh State trip on the line, a team that's one of the best in the nation, what do you expect to see from this game?
Well, I think it starts for Oswego State from the defense, and they've done a great job, especially jumping up on the play, but also knowing when to get back. When you have Philomena Taggart and Kate Rendazzo kind of at the point, they do a great job, and then Rachel Farmer in net as well. So I think that for the Lakers, it starts with their defense, but again, it's an offense that's extremely talented. Megan Teachout's been fantastic. Aaron Stewart, I mentioned the improvement of Philomena Taggart. I think that Oswego State's offense is what's going to carry them to a victory in a matchup with Plattsburgh on Saturday.
And there you see some video from senior night, the game against Buffalo State just a couple weekends ago. And for Oswego State, again, they're a team that plays such a grinding, puck-dominant game. That's what they really need to do, and I think that's what they can do. You'll get more fun how they play. In that one loss that Oswego State had, they just didn't skate fast enough. I thought they were a step slower than usual. And when they are playing at their full speed, like they most likely will tomorrow night, because it is a playoff game in a high-intensity atmosphere, then you're going to see a team much better than we did in that loss. And I think you look at them, they roll 4 lines deep. You look at that, really the 4th line, I'll put that in air quotes, because according to Coach Digby, they like to play all lines about evenly. And it's Morissette, Mackler, and McEwen, and they're such an annoying group, he said, to play against. They're so tenacious on that forecheck. They do such an incredible job just generating opportunities and also getting the puck from the defensive zone to the offensive zone and really limiting the top units for the other teams.
Yeah, and I love the way that Coach Digby put that to us last week, where he's like, they're just so annoying. I would never want to play against that 4th line for Oswego State. They're so talented, and they bring, as you mentioned, they do a great job controlling the puck, dumping it in deep, getting line changes, even if they're not producing offensively. And one thing about that Buffalo State game, it was senior night, so you kind of give them a little bit of a break, but they got off to a slow start, so they've got to pick it up in this game.
And one last nugget for Devlin and Lombardi. They combined for 38% of all the goals that Morrisville scores. So you shut those two down, and you might have a good chance of winning.
Definitely 2 to keep an eye on. And moving over to the men's side, Oswego State will renew its rivalry with Plattsburgh State on Tuesday night in the SUNYX semifinals. Matt and I will be on the call for WTOP 10 with pregame at 6:30, puck drop at 7 o'clock. Matt, it's been announced as a whiteout game. What do you expect from that MCC crowd?
It's going to be absolutely wild again. I'm hoping that everyone brings it out. Obviously, I think it was Brian Rubman pointed out to us today, looking back at last year's playoff game, it just wasn't the same energy, and now it's a Tuesday, so wait and see kind of what happens there. This, of course, the video from that Geneseo matchup, who the winner will end up taking on. But when I look at this team in Plattsburgh, I think it's the team I'd want to face the least out of anyone that was remaining out of the 3 teams they could have faced between them, Brockport, and Buffalo State. Excuse me. You've got a big rival. A lot of animosity there. You've got an elite goaltender in Jimmy Pareda, who we saw 2 years ago shut out Oswego State on home ice. That's a scary guy to go up against. And then they're coming in on a 4-game winning streak. This is a team I would not want to face if I'm Oswego State.
Yeah, and I remember talking back during whiteout week, and we said this is not the same team we're going to see down the stretch with Plattsburgh State. We saw that. I mean, the game wasn't quite as close when it was in Plattsburgh State, but the Cardinals were able to score 2 on COUSY. So it's going to be really interesting to see the adjustments that Plattsburgh State makes. And like you said, they're playing really good hockey right now. And in terms of the atmosphere, I think it's going to be really chill-inducing. I think that it's going to be a wild. I mean, on a Tuesday night, it's so crazy to think there's going to be a hockey game on a Tuesday night. But, throwing all that out the window, as you mentioned, this is going to be a great matchup. And I'm really excited because I said, imagine Potsdam and Plattsburgh both pull the upsets. They both did. Plattsburgh State comes to Oswego State, get to have the 131st edition of the rivalry.
Yeah, and then you just look at Zyzig. I was talking to him earlier today, and he says, out of anyone I'd want to play, Plattsburgh's the biggest rival. I couldn't imagine going out any other way, as this could be most likely the seniors' last home game here at the Campus Center. So obviously pack the crowd. The crowd will be rocking, and very excited for that one tomorrow night. Puck drop at 7.
Definitely should be electric. And one aspect of the game we know will be present is the physicality between these two teams. Oswego State's Mac Lewis sat down with WTOP 10 this week and discussed his style of play on the ice. Let's take a listen.
Yeah, I know what I'm here to do. I enjoy doing it, so yeah, I think if I was Plattsburgh, I'd be a little scared for sure.
Wild thing to say if you're Mac Lewis. Obviously, you know what he brings, and I would not want to be on the other side of a hit from him. Just not tall, but almost 200 pounds. I mean, that's a big man going right through. That's scary.
In the nicest way possible, Mac Lewis he's kind of a crazy guy. But I think that if I'm Steve Moffitt, I'm writing that down. Plattsburgh should be scared of me. I'm sticking it right on the bulletin board, and I'm making sure all the boys see it when they go onto the ice because they're going to have number 11 circled. Very, very interesting thing to say. Put a target on your back. We're not used to seeing Oswego State kind of go out there and talk. But, I mean, Mac Lewis, we call him the Mac Truck. He knows his job is to kind of be that enforcer on the ice. He's got to be careful, though. We mentioned last game against Fredonia, maybe, got to avoid getting the elbow up, got to avoid hitting guys in the head and neck area. So he's just got to be careful with that physicality.
Yeah, and the size that this Plattsburgh State team has. I mean, you look at Middleton, I think he's 6'4" graduate.
Yeah, I would not want to
He's a big boy,
Middleton.
too. You don't want to be running around with these guys either. They're not a team like a Geneseo that has more of that skating ability, the skating advantage. This is a big team full of bigger players that play really a physical, grinding game. That's a team I wouldn't want to be running my mouth against either.
Yeah, got to be careful during the play. Also, after the whistle, we know guys like Travis Broman, Mike Gillespie have kind of gotten into some trouble after the whistle. They've kind of tightened that up a little bit. And, a guy like Mike Gillespie, you want to be on the ice. He's playing great hockey lately. So you just got to be careful. It's going to be physical. It's a rivalry game, but you kind of got to keep those emotions in check. And I think that's going to be the message Coach Gosek kind of gives to the Lakers tomorrow.
Yeah, definitely. Just talking to him earlier today, he says, we have to play a physical game to win this one. They're a team that doesn't give us a lot, and we really need to grind and work for every single inch that they get.
And, of course, it has been a season of ups and downs for both of these teams, but they have both been hot lately. And for the men's team, how important is it for them to come away with a win tomorrow?
Well, obviously, you need to win the SUNYAC championship for a national title bid, and that's where it starts here, as you'll be able to watch or be at the game for. And I guess looking ahead at Geneseo, they're a team that's so talented. But again, it's hard to beat a team 3 times in a row. That's why for Gosek and the players, they're not worried about Geneseo or looking down the line. They're not thinking about anything but the next shift they have to play. But for us, we get to speculate. We get to talk about whatever we want kind of thing.
Yeah.
And looking at Geneseo, just play more discipline against them and against any team you face. And I truly believe this Oswego State team has the talent to beat anyone in the nation, especially when you're able to clean up that back end a little bit. You kind of saw what they did against Brockport, Buffalo State. You make a couple mistakes, and they're going to score almost every single time. So just clean it up defensively, and this is a very scary team that's peaking at just the right time.
And I also think it's big that Stephen Kozakowski got to start that game against Geneseo. Obviously, the Lakers lose it really close down the stretch. They have a great comeback against Geneseo. But that kind of gives you, he said, that's kind of, that's a game that's there's a lot of emotion coming into you. You're a little bit nervous, but he's like, I got that out of the way. So, if he sees them down the stretch, maybe he feels a little bit more confident. It's a Geneseo team. They run such good systems. I mean, they dismantled Potsdam last weekend. They've really run over everyone in the SUNYAC. They've had a couple kind of blips and ties and things of that nature, but I think that Oswego State can match them. But again, tomorrow night is where it all starts. It's win or go home for Oswego State. There's no pairwise. There's no getting an at-large bid. It's all about winning the SUNYAC. And obviously, with 13 seniors on the roster, they know the deal. And Plattsburgh State, a team that's young. So even if they lose, I think they're a team we're going to see down the road.
Yeah, it'll be exciting for sure. And unfortunately, that's all the time we have for tonight on Stick to Sports.
Thank you, as always, for watching. We'll be back next week, same time, same place, right here on WTOP Time.